Doing a slug of water here. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Design Review Committee on Thursday, July 16th, 2026. I now call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. Maddie, roll call, please.
Member Melissa Bates.
Here.
Member Getz. Absent. Member Johnson.
Here.
Vice Chair Boyd.
Here.
Chair Esther Jacobson Bates.
Here. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Jennifer?
Please stand as you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jennifer. Can I have a motion to approve the order of the agenda with the modification of removal of item 4B from the agenda?
So move.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Roll call vote, please, Maddie?
Member Melissa Bates.
Approve.
Member Getz. Member Johnson.
Approved.
Vice Chair Boyd.
Approved.
Chair Esther Jacobson Bates.
Approved. Now we're going to go on to the consent items. And Maddie, can you introduce this item?
Items on consent are typically routine and will be approved in one motion. The chair will call on anyone wishing to address the committee on any consent items on the agenda which has not been pulled by the committee for discussion. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once and comments will be limited to a total of 3 minutes.
We're going to start with in-person public comments first. I don't see anyone in the room, so we're going to move on to Zoom. Is there anybody on Zoom? No? Okay. Committee members, any items that you would like to pull? Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion to approve consent items A, B, and C.
So moved.
Second.
Maddie, roll call vote, please.
Member Melissa Bates.
Approve.
Member Getz. Member Johnson.
Approved.
Vice Chair Boyd.
Approved.
Chair Esther Jacobson Bates.
Approved. So then we're going to move on to consent item.
Pardon, I just want to jump in here. Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting myself. I believe there may be an item on the consent calendar based on prior discussions that may involve a conflict of interest. So to
Yes.
address that, I would invite us to do a motion to rescind the previous motion first. And then we'll bifurcate our approval of the consent items A through C. We'll do a separate motion. And then any recusal for item D. And then we'll do a vote on item D. Sorry, it's a little clunky, but just to honor the different conflicts that there may be.
Okay, so the A, B, and C that's approved needs to not be, please repeat that.
Because the motion was to approve all of the consent items,
No.
I would.
No, only A, B, and C.
Was that the committee's understanding of what the past motion was? I heard it was a motion to approve consent.
No, just A, B, and C.
Only A, B, and C.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I must have missed that. My apologies.
So I'm going to continue, but please jump in if something needs to change. So I'm going to move on to consent item D, and I am recusing myself from the dais due to a potential conflict of interest due to real property interest. So should I step out of the room at this time, or should I just?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to step
out of
out.
the room, and then once Chair Jacobson Bates has left the room, the remaining committee will entertain a motion on item D, 2D.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve item D of the consent agenda, consent items? Yes?
Rich, is it possible that staff can explain why we're approaching this one separately?
It's a potential conflict
can-
of interest on the
Or
part of.
Yeah, I'm happy to-
What the item is specifically?
So this item's for a sign permit. It was not pulled by any committee member for specific discussion, so we won't be discussing the item further. But due to a conflict of interest from Chair Jacobson Bates, she cannot participate in the decision to approve or deny this particular item. So we've approved items A through C, and now without Chair Jacobson Bates's participation, you will be tasked with either approving or denying or modifying item 2D. But it has not been pulled for discussion, so at this time it would just be a motion.
Okay, just, and it's not in the packet, correct?
It is in the agenda packet.
Chairperson Bates is conflicted out, so she can't be involved in the vote, which is why this item has been pulled separately.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Yes. So I guess, again, the question before the committee is, can we have a motion to approve item D of the consent agenda? And since I'm asking for it, I don't think I can make the motion.
So moved.
I second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Member Melissa Bates.
Approve.
Member Getz. Member Johnson.
Approved.
Vice Chair Boyd.
Approved.
Chair Esther Jacobson Bates.
Is recused.
Thank you.
Yes, item D has now been approved.
Yes. Thank you, committee. Okay, we're going to move on to public communications, not non-agenda. And we're going to start with in-person public comment. Is there anybody in the room who'd like to speak on an item not on the agenda tonight? See no one present. Is there anyone on Zoom? Okay, no one there. We're going to go ahead and move on to the discussion items. Staff, please introduce item 4A and provide the report.
Discussion and possible action for proposed facade improvements for an existing multi-tenant building located at 433 Alisal Road, APN 139193011.
All right, thank you, Maddie. So this is for a proposed project at 433 Alisal Road. So it's located at the corner of Mole Way and Alisal Road, as indicated in the photo on your screen. It is zoned Village Mixed Use, or VMU, and its general plan designation is tourist-related village commercial. So before you this evening is a recommendation to the Planning Commission that's for a development permit because the proposed project is over 500 square feet. The applicant is proposing exterior improvements to the existing elevator that's shown on the red square on your screen, as well as some other improvements to the site. So it includes removal of the glass elevator that is currently on there and installation of stucco to match the existing building, as well as half timbers. The applicant is also proposing to replace the canopy roof that's currently above the Tiki Lounge and replace that with the copper roof. And then it also is proposing a repainting of the building like for like. So this is the proposed project that's in your staff report. Again, the proposed elevator is to be replaced with the clock tower feature, and the roofing is to match the existing exterior. As you can see on the photo, there's the half timbers and the proposed clock itself. You'll also see in the photo on the screen a red circle. That is the proposed copper roof. So as noted from city staff in the staff report, it does differ from the existing roof that is being utilized on the remainder of the building. This is a side view of the exterior. So again, showing the stucco and the half timbers wrap around the facade that's visible from the public right away. And then you can see some minor half timbering on the rear and where the location of the elevator doors are. And so these are the proposed materials for the project. So it is the stucco and the brick to match the exterior, the half timbers that are also matching the exterior of the building, and the standing seam copper roof, which is, again, consistent with our objective design standards. So there are two standards and guidelines that we look at as a part of facade remodels here in the city. The first one being the existing adopted Solvang design guidelines, and so the proposed project is consistent with the exterior elevations that are integral to both traditional Danish and Northern European design. There is attention to architectural detail, including the use of materials as it matches the existing exterior of the building, as well as the half timbering and other methods to emulate the half timbering. There is one thing that we did note is the applicant is proposing to replace the existing canvas canopy with a standing seam copper roof. While staff supports the replacement of the existing canopy, staff does have some concerns that the proposed copper roof material is not compatible with the existing clay tile roof utilized throughout the remainder of the building, which is what the adopted Solvang design guidelines calls for and recommends for. So the DRC should weigh in on whether the proposed roof is consistent with the remainder of the building, as the proposed roof does meet the objective design standards, which is the second set of standards that we look at for facade rebuilds. So again, this is a part of your packet. It does meet the facades for wood and stucco finish. It does meet for architectural materials, including the brick veneer and the new half timbering. And the half timbering does meet the minimum distance and depth standards. The roofing material is a clad roof. It is consistent with a metal roof that could be utilized in the village. And then the colors, as the applicant is proposing the reuse of colors, and so it matches there. So yes, it is consistent. So again, you have alternatives, as this is a recommendation. This is what's considered a development permit. So we are looking for a recommendation from the DRC. This goes ultimately to the Planning Commission for approval, and then from there it goes on to building permits. So the Design Review Committee could request changes to the proposed facade improvements. Any modification should be clearly articulated to the applicant, and the DRC may do one of two things if that's the case. They may request the proposed design changes return to the DRC for review prior to making a recommendation, or provide explicit conditions to be included as a part of its recommendation. So we will forward those conditions to the Planning Commission and include those in our staff report and for our recommendation to the Planning Commission. The second is the DRC could take a look at this and could recommend denial of the proposed facade improvements. So city staff would forward that recommendation to the Planning Commission, again, as a part of the development permit public hearing. So that's part of this two-step process that we go through. So there are some action items for you this evening. It is to provide direction regarding the proposed copper roof. And again, as staff has indicated, there is concerns with consistency with the adopted design guidelines, but again, it does meet the objective standard. So the DRC can recommend approval to the Planning Commission as designed, or provide additional direction to city staff and or the applicant. And finally, the DRC could also recommend denial. So with that, I'll open up to the DRC for any questions that they may have.
Okay, we're going to start with the committee here, questions of staff.
No, none of staff, no.
Okay, may we need to return to that. Okay, then we're going to go to in-person public comments. If you'd like to make some comments, if the applicant's in the room, please come on up, identify yourself, and let us know.
Good evening. I'm Adam Firestone. I'm the co-owner of the building with my business partner, David, who's not here. But just very briefly to give you the backstory here, and I don't want to, you never know who's listening in. I don't want to insult anybody who was involved in building this or anything else. But the only puzzle that we've had with this building is that the elevator is enclosed in glass. So when you sit in the street, you get to see the mechanics of an elevator going against dirty glass, which we just felt was incompatible with the Alice House, one of our main corridors here, and we'd like to. That's the impetus behind what we're trying to do. I can address briefly the decision on the proposed suggestion on the awning cover is. I'm not a fan of awnings. They just fade quickly in the sun, and they look great for the first 6 months, and then they start looking tatty, and then they look the way they look all over the town. So we can't match tile against a 25-year-old tile. If we put it in there, it'll look new. So I would suggest that I appreciate what staff is saying, that it doesn't reflect the roof, but that's not going to be practical anyway. Copper, on the other hand, we've had great success with it. I think it just it blends to the environment, it sits in, it's a neutral color. We just need to get rid of that blue awning right there, and that seemed to be the easiest way and the most natural way to do it available to us. The rest of the tower down below is just to increase the curiosity as you walk by with some, you've seen them all over town, those boards, the little display boards that are lockable for the merchants, versus, again, looking at the guts of an elevator shaft from behind. So it sounds like a lot. It's a long process to go through, but it's actually not a lot. We don't have a competing clock either there, so we thought that might be a nice thing to add at the top. Everybody getting to the post office knows that they've got 3 minutes to get in there. Anyway, that's the deal. Happy to take any questions that you might have. And I didn't bring the architect just because he's too expensive. This is already expensive enough as it is.
Does anybody have questions now, or maybe we can reserve the right to
Sure.
call you back up?
Sure. I'll go
That's
sit down
okay?
here and-
Super, thank you. Thanks for the information. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to address this item? Okay, then I'm going to look at Zoom. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to address this item tonight? Okay, so do I close public comment and then reopen it at this point? Okay, I'm going to close public comment. We may reopen that, but we're going to have a discussion here amongst our committee members. So, who wants to begin?
I'll kick it off.
All right.
I think the proposed changes to the elevator structure to make it into the clock tower, I think is terrific. I'm 100% in favor of that. I'm also in favor, as Mr. Firestone said, of eliminating the canvas awning and putting a roof over it, because, as you said, canvas looks good for a couple of months and then fades and starts tattering. The one thing that I don't really like is the copper roof. I know a standing seam copper roof is beautiful. I think in this situation, as my son's in the TV business, he would say it pulls focus from all the great work you just did on the elevator tower. People are gonna, it's a focal point of itself, the copper roof. A standing seam roof, I think, is great, particularly if you can't match the clay tile that's on the existing roof, but maybe we could suggest painting it or doing something to address the color so it doesn't pull so much from the tower.
Well, first of all, welcome to the Design Review Committee here, and it's great to see these improvements happening in town. I echo Rich on the comments here, Chairperson Boyd, that the glass elevator, although my kids loved it when they were like 3, taking the elevator up and down, it will be a significant improvement to the aesthetics of the property. The standing seam roof, again, understand the concept, concerned about the color, and I had wondered if, the copper eventually takes on that patinaed look, and I believe that there are standing seam roofs that come kind of this is not the right terminology, but pre-patinaed, that perhaps that might be an option that, because it is such a visual part of it, perhaps it could become something that looks more aged as the rest of the structure does. So that's kind of my comments for now.
I agree. I think, like I said, paint or acid wash or something, and I believe you can get, as our chairwoman said, standing seam roof, even copper standing seam roofs that are patinaed already, to lack of a better word.
I like the project, and I agree that whether it's copper or whatever material, I think it's an improvement. I would like to have it be consistent in color. If you get that with copper and then it's stable in that color, I'm fine with that. It does break up the monotony of that facade, and there is precedent for copper roofs in Solvang. So, however, staff and your architect solve that, I'm in favor of it.
I think it meets the consistency with the design standards too. And I have to compliment the original architecture on other elements. I really like the Corby steps here, emulating Bethania Church and that kind of rural Danish churches. The broken up mass lines here, all very good things. And your suggestions or your proposal here is only improving the aesthetics of the structure. Jennifer?
I love it. I love all of it.
I think it'll be a great addition. I do have a question. This is maybe circling back to a staff question. Can I do that? The displays that are at the base of the tower, the kind of glass, I know there's guidelines, requirements, I'm not quite sure the right way of defining it, that allow only a certain amount of things up against the glass at the front. Are these cases, display cases, do they meet kind of standards so that they could have goods in there and not have them right up against the front of the glass?
The display, as part of the new sign ordinance, the displays have been taken out simply because they're not utilized very much anymore as signs. So whatever signage, if they put signage in there, then obviously it falls into the realm of the sign ordinance. But a display is kind of it's a display.
Right.
There's not,
So, but not like a poster, not like the wallpaper on the windows at the other tiki bar at the front. I guess that was kind of my concern
if
there.
that's the case, you could potentially recommend conditions be crafted for that. If as a part of any recommendation that city staff carry sort of conditions forward, if it so chooses to recommend this to the planning commission.
Well, and perhaps this is an opportunity to reopen public comments and invite Adam back up, if you'd like to.
I would. Let me address in the order that you presented. If you look at the picture of the original, which is I think your page 2 in the packet, you can see the color of what copper will look like in very short order. The reason we picked it also is because there's a bunch, those copper caps at the very top of the roofs, there's more copper on the back, all the trim was done in copper. The building was built beautifully. We got no rusting galvanized, it's all copper.
So you're pointing out that what I didn't see from the street, that there's already copper at the peaks.
Number 2
Yeah.
at the top. Yeah.
Yep.
And that'll give you a sense of the texture and the color, and that's why I think it'll disappear. And to the question about can we pre-treat, absolutely. And we've done this before. I've used copper a lot in other projects, and it's because it's natural. It changes with the with the building and with our own atmosphere. So copper here looks a little different than copper on the ocean. That looks different in high humidity environment and so on. And we can pre-treat it. We've done that before, and just so you don't have a bright piece of shiny copper. And it goes in 10 minutes. It's gone. It'll patina instantly. It's a wash of muriatic and some other. I can't remember what the guys put in it, but there's something that makes it age very quickly. And then you wash that off, and it looks very close to this, and then it harmonizes over time. As to the display boards, we just drew on we were just looking for something, so you didn't look at it, just a pile of stucco as you walk down the sidewalk there. And there's lots of examples. The one that we triggered off is by Ingvor's Chocolate, the little alleyway there. They're narrow, it gives a little creativity to the tenant to come up with something and change displays. I've watched that one over the years, Christmas or whatever, just to make it a little bit of a curiosity. And again, so you're just not walking against a piece of stucco, because it does jut out a fair bit if you guys know this small town. Anyway, so that's the thinking on the boards. And they're narrow because we can't go in to the building.
Into the shaft. Yeah.
Both structurally. And so we don't want it hanging out a long way, because that's going to, it would look weird and change the feel of the place. So, these are, I don't know, about 4.5, 5 inches. So no one's displaying a basketball, but you might put some little Christmas trinket or something.
Yeah. I think my concern just comes because of the windows and the building that is coming in with the standing seam, that they're so entirely covered with the wall covering.
And as landlord, we fight some of the tenants' desire to put posters, sticky tape all over the place, because it starts looking like a bus kiosk, and I know you guys fight that too. So we're relying on that. And that's our thinking of manage it by keeping it defined.
Okay. Well, thank you. It sounds like there's a patina. Okay, any other public comment at this time? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment once again. So circling back to the project and a possible solution for the standing seam.
I
Look-
hate to put something up that we know is going to look good in a year, you know, or 2 years or whatever it takes to paint. I would recommend that we make a recommendation that this copper roof be pre-treated to achieve whatever kind of patina we think it's going to eventually have. That way we don't have to wait for it to happen.
Yes, something that makes it fit with the age and aesthetics of the existing building. And of course, I think the neighbors will appreciate not having the shiny reflective copper there as well. And are we stipulating a specific finish? Or I kind of am rethinking the kind of copper green hued patina and thinking perhaps it needs to be something that is in line with the existing caps on the top of the building. So that the patina and the aged is looking more like the existing pieces. But any thoughts,
I
committee
don't know if
members?
you can necessarily match that, but you can get at least a head start on it.
Yeah.
Well, and
With
I think that the standing seam sample in page 3 is exactly what we're looking for, as long as it stays, if it's stable in treatment and color, I think that works.
But I think that's the shiny one. It's just the way it looks in our paper.
I've never seen a new copper roof that was that color.
Well, and so my point is that I want whatever they put on there to be that
Be
color.
that,
Yeah,
Yeah,
to be,
exactly.
I'll agree with you there.
that's, yeah, a little tricky. You're taking this piece of printed paper. I think the way that perhaps can be woven into a motion is that it be pre-treated or whatever the proper wording is, so that it has a look that it's aged and fits with the existing elements on the building and the age.
Yeah, it sounds like, if may I, that the recommendation would be that the copper be pre-treated with the look and finish consistent with other elements that are existing in the building to the satisfaction of city staff, based on the DRC direction.
Yeah, I'm satisfied with that. I would like to add the caveat that so that you don't have to argue with your tenants about what does or doesn't go in the glass, that it not be fully covered with one material. And perhaps there's a better way of saying that. That's my way of saying that I don't want to see wallpaper on all that matches the existing glass doors and windows in the adjoining building. Suggestions as to how to state that? I'm looking at Raphael.
So the concern here is in the interior of the boxes, so that you don't have wallpaper or signage, additional signage. So
I'm not uncomfortable with additional signage if it's a seasonal something. And in fact, I was thinking about this from a whole different perspective, like there could even be a visitor map of town there or something, but that's a whole other story. But rather that it not be fully covered and sealed with the same
You mean like this
pattern.
building?
Yes, exactly.
How this building is in existence right now,
Right.
currently.
Yeah, where they're putting the standing seam so that it isn't like that. And I don't know how to
So
say that.
you want the glass to be, you want to be able to see some of the glass.
We want to
not-
see a
not fully covered.
display in that space.
So my suggestion is that the display be at least 50% transparent, or 50%, maximum 50% coverage. So that way, now you sort of limit what can go in, but it can only be covered at 50%.
And it allows some flexibility there
Correct.
as well.
And it really gives, and that flexibility then becomes on the applicant as the property owner, as well as work with their tenants, but it gives them a guise of what can and can't be done.
Yeah, and then there are limitations as to what kind of signs can be plastered on the
Is that
inside.
applicable to this application, or are we just talking about the tower and the roof?
It would be, At this point, it would be specific to the tower and the roof,
Okay,
because that's where the development permit is specifically. So a development permit grants the applicant the right to construct, or right to get a building permit to construct. So the condition would then go with that.
all right.
We could encourage the applicant to encourage his tenant to consider 50% coverage on the other windows. Does anybody want to make a motion? Do you want me to make a motion?
Well, I'll take a stab at it if you
Great.
like. I move that we approve the application as presented with the recommendation to pre-age the copper roof. And also, I guess we need to include in that a maximum amount of window coverage be as determined by city requirements, if that makes sense.
I think we want to do it at the
Okay.
50%
Be specific.
on the tower
On the
display
tower,
windows.
correct. All right, you want me to try and fumble through that again?
Well, perhaps we can have it, can we read that back into a cohesive motion?
So you are recommending that the DRC recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of a development permit with the added conditions that the copper seam roof be pre-treated to a color consistent with other existing building elements, and that the display have a maximum transparency of 50%.
Much better said than I
Yes,
did.
and I think just one word I'd like to add in there, that the roof be pre-treated to have something about age, to appear consistent with the existing elements in the building. You comfortable? Okay, so we've got a motion.
Okay, there's a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Sorry,
Okay.
I just want to clarify who raised the motion, or who was the actual
I
person
made
who.
the motion.
Okay,
Rich.
great, thank you.
Yeah. Chair, or Member Boyd. Okay, first by Member Boyd, second by Member Johnson. Maddie, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Melissa Bates,
Approve.
Member Getz, Member Johnson,
Approved.
Vice Chair Boyd,
Approved.
Chair Esther Jacobson Bates.
Approved. Thank you for your work on the building. We look forward to seeing the project completed. Okay,
As a quick aside, once we get the green,
yeah.
once we get the green light, and we got a lot more hearings and whatever to get through, I know, but once we get to that point, we can address this by pre-purchasing the copper. We leave it out in the weather, you get this perfect climate, we've done
Yeah.
that before, and nothing happens quickly. We might be leaving it for 2 years before we get a permit.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that
However-
goes to the pre-treated. Yeah.
However, the patina's
And-
achieved is fine.
And we like to think that
That's a
we're,
great condition, I'm happy to take it.
great. And we like to think that the process can be much faster than that, so. Thank you. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and move on. Well, I guess actually we don't do that. So now we're going to go to committee member comments. Anybody have comments today? I actually have a question for staff.
Skip B, 4B?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Pulled his piece.
yes, that was
And I'll address
removed
that in
from
my
the
comments.
agenda. Yeah, and I think that's coming up. I did have a question that I was surprised that this had been incorporated into the design guidelines, because this is the brick accent bands on the new structure, a minimum of 4 feet in height. I look at many buildings in town that have very creative use of bricks, whether it's at the base, through a row that is a decorative band. I was unaware that we had this in here, and at some point I'd like to address the potential for revising that.
Yeah, we can bring that back at a later time once we get past the guidebook first, or as a part of the guidebook, revising it, which would actually be the most appropriate.
Yeah, and that's why I bring it up now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's too restrictive, and we have a lot of really excellent examples of brick use in town that don't meet that standard, and I'd like to see it available for future projects as well. So thank you. And then my comment is, thank you, Maddie, for stepping in, and if Lisa is watching, which I'm sure she is not, we wish her congratulations with little baby
Dalton.
Dalton?
Dalton James.
Okay, Dalton James. I was trying to remember. Congratulations, Lisa. And anybody else? Comments? Okay, and with that, we'll go ahead and move on to city staff comments.
So for those that are wondering what's going on with the lumberyard project pre-app, that was actually pulled, and the reason being is the applicant had approached city staff wanting their design professional to be present, specifically their landscape architect to be present for the meeting to answer the questions in the DRC. Because it's a pre-application, we went ahead and pulled the item on his behalf. So that item will be coming back to the next DRC meeting. We actually will have a very packed DRC meeting now agenda with that item, along with likely 2 signs that are looking for exceptions. And then another item is actually going to come back to you, and that is the Alisol event barn. I know that is an item that y'all heard in May. There was a procedural error done at that meeting, so we are going to rehear it again. However, at this point, this project has actually been deemed complete from city staff. So some of the items that the DRC had wanted to have revisited, they've actually provided that to us. And so I spoke with the applicant earlier this week. They're going to actually work to revise some items based on the DRC discussion that was had back in May. So they are going to bring some revisions back to the DRC. As far as other projects on the horizon, I have no news or updates for our Alisol Glen project. So a lot of chatter in the community. We've received a lot of letters in regards to that project, but no formal application has been received. We have been extremely busy construction-wise and permitting-wise over the last 3 months. There's been an extreme uptick in permit applications, which is a good thing. And we've actually permitted some really, we have a couple new businesses that have opened up over the last 2 months, particularly in Founders Square. There's a pizza and vinyl that's now there. Obviously, the SYV Creamery has opened, and was it Garoppolo's? Garoppolo's just pulled their permit for an expansion of their restaurant. So yeah, it's a to-go window, more focused towards lunch, but any expansion of existing business is always a great thing. So,
Raphael, and
yeah.
to-go window, we mean a walk-up.
Correct.
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
Just
Not the actual
confirming.
physical window. They're expanding their space, which is overall pretty good, and that's actually interconnected to their ABC license, which, again, a token to the way we used to do things. They approached city staff in 2022 about expanding their patio, and they went through this whole parking issue, and they kind of just died out. But based on our new regs, they're actually allowed to do it, and they did it by right, and they're expanding that patio too at the same time, which allows them for expansion of their liquor license. So again, little things that we change to make economic development happen are happening, which is always a good thing. And the last is the City Council in August will be getting a report out from our UBEC committee. That's the Urban Growth Boundary Expansion Committee. And so they'll be reporting out about what future holds for the city in terms of growth and potential expansion beyond our city limits. So hopefully we'll have a very fruitful discussion with the City Council about getting some direction on the UBEC. But we did have approximately 5 meetings with 12 community members from very robust areas of life and where they're at, and a group of 12 individuals came out with 12 different viewpoints and coming back out to report out of giving us direction on how to move forward. And I don't know if Randy want to touch on anything else from that.
Not about that specifically. I just wanted to let the committee know and the public. We are going to have a State of the City meeting on August 27th from 11 to 1 at the Craft House. So it's been collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce. So it'll be include lunch. So get your tickets now. They're selling fast.
And then finally, our planning commission is actually also busy. So we've had a bit of a lull in the DRC, as noticed from this year. But our planning commission, we've actually had a meeting almost every single month with items. The sign ordinance actually is the big one that'll go in August, as well as a CUP for a nightclub and live entertainment over at the Alisal Cellars. So again, that was another project that kind of died about 5-6 years ago due to permitting, parking, and other things, but was able to be revised based on the new zoning ordinance. So again, lots of great things are happening in the community and economic development done by this DRC, the PC, and the City Council. And with that, I'll conclude my report.
I have a request. I have a request for you on the sign ordinance that comes to the Planning Commission. Would you please share with our committee the date and that ordinance so that we can, as citizens, potentially visit that meeting or take a look at the ordinance as well?
Yeah, it's the first meeting in August, so I believe it's the August 3rd, and that begins at 6. Staff reports should be out the Wednesday prior. Taylor has comments that I need to that I've been working on for the last day or so, catching up from vacation. So
because I don't think we ever saw the final.
Yeah, the final one actually incorporates most of your end stuff, so that's we'll be able to pass that along. So
Okay, yeah, I'd like to take a look at that, and thank you for filling us in.
I have a question. Raphael, you mentioned the city council report. What meeting will that be? What's the date?
August 10th.
Okay. And that's not the one that you referred to? Okay.
No, August 10th is, so we shorten our summer calendar for the council meetings. We only have the one meeting on the month, so we just had ours for July. We're not meeting again until August 10th, and then we'll take the August 24th date, what was a normal meeting, we're taking that off. Then we won't meet again until September 14th, I think. But the August 10th is the date for the UBEC committee findings and report. And then the state of the city will be considered a council meeting because all the council members will be there and be talking about business of the city. But it will be at Cork on the 27th, which is a Thursday later in the month.
I do have a quick question on the potential, growth. Is that going to, how is that going to impact, I don't think you necessarily completely answer this, but the housing element, does it provide additional locations for housing?
Potentially, but again, that's depends on the direction that's given to council, and it's a multi-step process. It's a multi-year process,
Yes.
and it's
Maybe even multi-decade.
Yeah.
right. So that's will be included in the report.
I'm not doing another general plan, I don't think, but somebody's going to be incorporating this in a new general plan. I see in the room here, Dennis Beebe, who also spent a lot of time on that general plan, and I think that will be somebody else's task in 20 years.
It's baby steps, though. There's procedural things we need to do first. And so, anyways, that's what the report out is.
All right, well,
Another question for Raphael. You mentioned that the LSL project will be coming back before us in August. And one of the issues was the packet was not complete in May. And you're saying that it will be complete upon
Well, we
submission.
deemed the project complete.
Okay.
So that's what that just means is it has all the information required for us to make
Okay.
environmental determinations, which is what we're doing now. So whereas at the time in May, it still was technically incomplete because we were missing a couple items. So,
Thank you.
but those have been
Thanks.
brought to us.
and I think that it was an unexpected, unanticipated opportunity to revisit the project with some of the elements that, as a design review committee, were missing in the original presentation. So we appreciate that second chance again. So I think that concludes our business for the meeting. So I'm going to call the meeting adjourned at 5:44.
What's the over-under? He said, by 5:45.
Yeah, there you go.
Recordings.